Hello everybody, it's Julia here from the Highly Sensitive Tarot, and I'm back today to do a VR. This is a video response to Tamara at Nightshade Tarot, who started a couple of weeks ago, maybe even longer, I'm not sure. She started the tag #cozy, my cozy decks. I've also seen this tag on Giselle's channel at Madwitch and on Tony's channel at Antoinette Intuitive Tarot and Jewelry, and I will link everybody in the description box that I've spoken about today. So I really enjoyed watching their tags, and the days that I watched their videos, it was cold and raining and miserable here, and it felt really the right thing to be watching a video about cozy decks. Today, here in the UK, the sun is shining. It's warm outside. This is the first proper nice day I think we've had. It's maybe 15, 16, maybe even more outside in the sun. It's lovely. And here I am sat indoors in my gloomy front room doing a video. But anyway, after I've done this, I'm going to go and sit in the sun. So I was sort of thinking, I was listening to everybody else's tags and their thoughts about what makes a cozy deck. And to me, I think a cozy deck would be something that I would pull out in the evening or on a winter's afternoon, but certainly in the evening. And that doesn't have to just be in the winter in the UK, because in the spring, autumn, and even the summer, we can have plenty of chilly evenings where it's nice to sit indoors and get cozy. So I was just thinking about what cozy means to me, and it really means being snuggled up in bed. I spend, if you've watched my channel much, you'll probably know that I've got fibromyalgia, and I can spend quite a lot of time in bed sometimes. I'll go through spells where I'm quite fatigued and not well, and so I can end up laying in bed or on my sofa under a duvet or under a blanket for quite long periods. So I have things that are cozy to me are quite important, and I have quite a lot of different things, I suppose, that keep me going through those times, and certainly my tarot decks are one of those things. So when I think about what I do on those cozy times, is I'm generally watching the TV or reading. They're the two things that I'll do. And when I say watching the TV, I'm generally watching YouTube or a DVD or something, a film or a box set of some kind. I don't pay my TV license in the UK. I don't really watch any mainstream TV. Most of it has no real interest to me, but I'm a sucker for fiction and stories, and that's what's cozy to me. So the decks that I've chosen reflect that, I guess. I've got 5 decks, 4 are tarot and 1 is oracle, and they're all things that actually I remember over the winter getting out of my my bookcase and sort of laying down with and just flicking through, really. They're not necessarily cards that I would just sit and read with at those cozy times, but they're cards that I just love to look at, really. They spark my imagination and my intuition. So the first deck is the Game of Thrones deck, and as you can see, I have edged this deck in a lovely black, and this is only the second deck that I have edged. I trimmed and edged the Raven's Prophecy recently, and I've just edged this deck. I haven't trimmed it, I've just edged it, but I'm really pleased with it. I think the black goes really well with these cards. So yeah, the first deck is the Game of Thrones tarot, which I just love. I absolutely love the box sets. I absolutely love the books. it's just right up my street, really. And it is something that makes me feel cozy, because I've had this deck out while I've been watching the TV program. I've had this deck out while I've been reading the books. And I really like the vast majority of their choices for who they've put as who in this deck. For instance, this is where my brain will go wrong, because I'm not very good at remembering names, but I'm pretty sure this is Ramsay Bolton. And they've obviously got him as the devil, which is a brilliant choice. I think they've just done really, really well with this deck. I love all of the scenes from this. There's, most things that I look at in these cards I can remember in the TV programs, where it came from, what it's all about. I mean, little, what's his name? Lannister, Tywin? No. Oh God, see, there we go, my brain. I've forgotten his name, but isn't he perfect as the Fool? I suppose some of the cards are a tad little bit pippish, but that's absolutely fine. I don't mind that. The King of Swords, isn't he a good choice for the King of Swords? The Ice King, or the Night King, is that what he was called? Again, please forgive my brain. There's just so many little bits here that are memorable, really. Daenerys as the Queen of Wands, it's a really good choice. What else have we got? Oh, bless her, the Two of Swords. What's her name? See, I'm rubbish. There she is again, look. And isn't she a good choice for death? She peddled a lot of death in the end, she did. So yeah, the Game of Thrones deck, I absolutely love that. And considering I'm such an enormous fan of the TV programme, the books, the tarot deck, I've watched the new series, The House of the Dragons. I love it, all of it. Yeah, my brain cannot remember the names of anybody. So there we go. So my second deck, which sort of follows along those lines, really, a similar theme, is the Haunted House Tarot, which I haven't used a huge amount to read with, if I'm honest. That's not to say that I couldn't, or that it's not something that would be easy to read with, because I think it would. It's very Rider-Waite-Smith based. But I just like to flick through the cards. I think they're like a story for me. They remind me of the old Hammer House of Horror films. I don't know whether any of you are familiar with those, whether you remember those back from the, God, when would they have been? Maybe the 70s and 80s? I don't know how long they went on for. But there was lots of this kind of sort of romanticised horror, I suppose, of vampires and haunted houses. And I think in the 70s and 80s that sort of movie genre really took off, didn't it? With the advent of videos and technology improving, I guess. But I just really like these cards. I can see many of these scenes in these cards played out in films that I've watched over the years. Many of these characters. I really, really like this deck. It's got a really warm, and like I said, a really cozy feel. Like it, you could be watching a film, really. So that's the Haunted House Tarot by Sasha Graham, which is a brilliant deck. What else have we got here? So my next one is the Wizard's Tarot. This is one I only have bought recently, in the last couple of months, I suppose. I did a walkthrough on this deck, yeah, when it first came. This is by Paper de Lune. I don't really know who they are, and to be honest, while I really like the deck, I was not overly impressed with their customer service or their delivery. It seemed like they were based in the UK, but they didn't communicate with me, and it took a long time for the deck to come. I almost thought I'd been scammed at one point, but I really like the deck. I may trim it, I may edge it, I'm not really sure. But again, I'm quite happy with most of the choices for the people in this. I'm a really big fan of Harry Potter. Again, with all the films, with the books, they're things that have been in my consciousness. It feels like forever, I suppose. I used to read the stories to my son when he was a little boy. It's a cozy deck because it makes me think about the films and the books that I enjoy, and again, it's not one that I feel a desperate urge to read with particularly. I just really like to look at the cards and look at the characters. It sort of reminds me, I suppose, of maybe the last two films of the Harry Potter series that were much darker than the early ones. You know, where everyone was a bit more grown up and having to start really facing life, you know, responsibility, their destiny, you know, as we can see here in the Ace of Wands. You know, Harry's destiny was always going to catch up with him. The Three of Wands, look, the troll. Do you remember the troll bogies? Oh, and that that shameful woman. What was her name? Dolores, maybe? I may have got that wrong. She was from the Ministry of Magic, wasn't she? And she became the headmistress of Hogwarts for a time. Had those awful pens that would scratch into people's hands. So yeah, this is like a seriously cozy deck for me. You know, this is the sort of thing I'd get out and look at and flick through while I was actually watching the Harry Potter films, just so I would be completely immersed in that world of imagination, really. So they're the three decks that I've got that remind me of TV programs and books that I particularly enjoy. The next deck that I've got here, you may have seen recently as well, but this is something I find that I haven't read with as such yet, but I have had this deck out quite a lot, just to look at it, because I absolutely adore Gustav Klimt's artwork. I don't know who this deck is by. It's a low Scarabeo deck anyway. Now this is a beautiful deck. It really is. It's got little gold gilding bits on it, and much of the artwork in this deck is quite recognisable as Klimt. They've sort of collaged, I suppose, bits and pieces of different paintings together and made these cards out of them. But I suppose there's a few of the more famous paintings that I like and I've had in my own home over the years that aren't included here. There's not a great deal of his beech trees and his birch trees that he used to paint a lot. Some of the artwork, what have I had in the past? Oh, again, I can't remember the names. But anyway, you see little flashes of them, little aspects of some of these paintings here, but not as a whole. But aren't they beautiful? I've got such a thing for spirals and triangles and metallics and eyes, and it's just all here in these decks. It's just all here and it's beautiful. I think you could certainly read with this deck. Look at the kiss, look. Isn't that beautiful? I've had that as a painting. My ex-husband bought me that many, many years ago. Huge, great big framed metallic canvas. Beautiful. So yeah, it's just lovely. I wish I could remember the names of the characters we're looking at here, but I'm afraid I can't. I also just liked actually that Klimt and his style is that he drew people as they are. You know, he painted people as they are. People are not perfect, and you know, he painted skinny people, fatter people, men, women, babies, beautiful women, you know, like this one. This is a print that I've had in the past. I don't currently have it, but I did used to have that, which is gorgeous. You know, he painted people as we are, you know, realistically, with all of our flaws and all the things that we often seek to sort of hide from each other, I suppose. There's all here, really. The ages of people from young through to old. This is a painting I've got, or certainly I've got a much, much bigger painting of that, but I think that might be called The Maiden or The Ages of Women. I don't know, I may have got that completely wrong, but it's a gorgeous deck, and it's something I really, really enjoy just flicking through and looking at without really understanding hugely what I'm looking at, but I enjoy it nonetheless. So that's all of my tarot decks, and the last deck that I've got here. So I was looking through my oracle decks, and really I don't have a great deal of decks that I would call cozy in my oracle decks, but this one definitely is. This is Kim Kranz, The Wild Unknown Archetypes, and I don't very often get this deck out to read with it properly in a reading. This is something I might just pull a card for myself every now and again, but more than anything, I like the guidebook. This is not a deck that speaks to me hugely intuitively, if I'm honest, other than some of the more obvious archetypes. But you know, there's aspects of this deck that are quite mysterious, and I think without the guidebook, to be honest, you would be hard pushed, you know, to really get a message from the cards, unless you're an extremely intuitive person anyway. I really like that. Look at that. Look, the eye, the animal. Just that sort of, that wildness. The crone, the ring. I mean, these are all fantastic archetypes, actually. Let's have a little shuffle, and oops, sorry, I can't actually shuffle under the camera because I've got it too low to the table. Let's have a little shuffle, and I shall pick a card, and I'll have a read from the guidebook, because as I said, it's the guidebook that's really what really makes this deck. And it is cozy to me because the guidebook just sets my imagination off. You know, Kim Kranz talks about artwork and books and other bits of research that you can do with these cards, you know. And I think that it's that I find cozy, and that really spurs me on to look at them. So we've got the forest. So let's have a look. This is the guidebook. So that's 36, isn't it? 33, 35, 36. So she says here, consider for a moment your earliest memory of the forest. It's likely it included all the mythic dynamics of this archetypal space, a little fear, a little enchantment, perhaps losing your way, perhaps discovering a secret mystical treasure. But such is the magic of the forest, it requires first that you enter it and then that you get lost within it. Isn't that nice? See? Do you see what I mean? If you're laid on the sofa or laid in bed and you're just daydreaming and relaxed, this already you're in that forest, aren't you? You may think that there is a path to lead you straight through, but soon enough you'll be on what is known as the pathless path. There are tricksters here, dense foliage and entanglement, but equally present are the glimmers of fairy light and friends among the trees. You're on an adventure now and there's no turning back. So embrace the dim light and the moving shadows, whether literal or imaginal. Be brave, the forest, and get lost getting found. She's also written, if you get out of the forest without feeling lost, you are only in a little grove of trees. The great archetypal forest requires that we spend at least one night frightened for our life. She's also written, the hunter, the maiden, the crone and the shaman make regular appearances in the forest, so don't be surprised if these cards come out together. Let the narrative reveal itself. And she's put, when light, magic abounds, childlike wonder, adventure, and when dark, concealment, density, and savagery. And go deeper, the opening 3 lines of Dante Alighieri's Inferno. So if I was of a mind to, while I'm laying in bed and looking at these, I can get my phone out or my laptop and look out the Dante's poem. But do you see what I mean? This really is a deck that if you're laying about in an afternoon or an evening and you want a little bit of inspiration, to let your imagination wander, I can't think of a better deck actually for that. There are so many profound sort of insights within this deck. I really am and have always been quite impressed with it. So there we go. They are my my cozy decks. I know in the Northern Hemisphere now we're entering hopefully summer soon. Hopefully the sun coming back very soon. I can't do the box up on that. But as I said, we still have plenty of chilly afternoons, plenty of chilly evenings, plenty of times where you can sit and be cozy on the sofa or cozy in bed and look through your tarot cards. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I shall be back soon with some more videos. I'm coming up to the anniversary of my channel at the end of May. It'll be 2 years, and so I'm going to do a few VRs and other bits and pieces really just to celebrate the 2-year anniversary of my channel. So I do hope you'll join me. Please do leave me a comment, have a go at this tag if you fancy it. I think it's a lovely tag, and I shall see you all again soon. Thank you.